Today on the show, we have Mona, a 58-year-old soon-to-be empty nester and pediatric nurse practitioner in neurology whose search for a new hobby led her to ballet. We talk about structure and routine, the importance of dedication, and the ins and outs of dancing in your kitchen. Enjoy! So far, we've just been having a lot of fun chatting about ballet because we're all obviously super ballet geeks because this is what we choose to spend our spare time doing. So you started ballet as an adult.
Yes, an old adult.
Old is a mindset, Mona. I think you're a young adult.
Nah,
You're
not
very
older than
curious
you all
mind.
think I am.
So what's that about? Why did you what sparked it? What sparked it?
What sparked it is I wasn't doing anything, and I was being very much a kind of a slug or a sloth, and I did nothing athletic, and I had no hobby, and I thought, well, I need a hobby and something to do. And my hair salon is right next to Broche Ballet. And so I knew about Broche Ballet just because I passed the sign. And when I started to look at something to do, I originally wanted to do a tap class because I've always wanted to learn how to tap dance. And so in the process of figuring out what was available, I stumbled on Broche Ballet again. And I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And then I came in with, a 30-minute whatever with you. I'm like,
Yep.
Yeah, I could do this. And that's what did it. I can't say that I ever was a big, I wanted to be a ballerina my whole life. It was just, I don't know, something to do and get me dancing.
Yeah. Now, did you find us through Kristen's tap class with Tappy Feet? Is that how you came across us?
Well, when I was on, I knew you were there, but when I was looking for the tap dancing, one of the classes happens at Broche, and then I was like, oh,
right.
Well, let me look at the Broche stuff. And so that's kind of, and I'm like, oh, well, I know where that place is because it's right next to my hair salon. So
That's so funny. How long was it from start till when you came into the preview class with me, from when you first saw us to when you decided to do something about it?
Not very long. I'm going to say maybe a week or so. I just
Oh, wow.
I told my husband I'm going to do this. I signed up for the preview class. I'm like, I'm just going to do this. I didn't think about it for months. It was definitely much shorter. I decided one day I'm going to do this.
That's amazing. And you have not missed a class since then. You're one of our very few who has perfect attendance.
I try. I have this stuff when I've been out of town, but
you miss 3 classes in a year. That's
yes.
too funny.
I panic if I'm getting too many credits. So
got to get those classes in. Got to keep getting better.
That's right.
So it sounds like this is kind of you haven't had a hobby in a little while. So why did this one stick? Have you tried other hobbies in the past and they didn't stick, or just didn't try anything and then this was time to try it? Or what happened in your life that made you actually get a habit and a hobby going?
I'm getting old, and I decided that in a couple years my daughter's going to be out of the house, and I think I really felt like I needed something to pass the time and to engage with. The other thing I'm doing also is I started piano lessons at the same time. So I started ballet and piano at exactly the same time. I found a piano teacher, I got a keyboard, and so both at the same time. I'm like, that piano was something I've always wanted to do. So that I've kind of done also because I think I needed something to occupy my time.
I didn't realize you had a daughter at home.
Yes, I have she's 15 years old.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yes, soon life will change. That's true.
I should have a 30-year-old and I could be the mom to Jackie, but
everyone does everything on their own time.
That is correct.
I will be in the same boat as you, I'm sure.
So like, what keeps you coming back? So you were doing piano and ballet. What keeps you coming back week after week? What's the draw?
I love Kristen, and I will tell you that she keeps me coming back probably 90% of it. She's fabulous, and I love Kristen, and she's been such a wonderful teacher, and I like talking to her and her personality, and I like who she is, and so she keeps me coming back. And the structure, and I like the structure. Ballet is very structured, and I like structure. And so the fact that, bar is very structured, and when I go online and I watch the World Ballet Day, they're doing the same thing I'm doing, just maybe, definitely a higher level, but it's very structured, and I like
Right.
that. I definitely like the structure of ballet, and that it's very, it's progressive, but there's a every class you do the same thing, and I like that.
Right, and you do it for the rest of your ballet career, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Just more of it, and you work harder, and all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it appeals to my kind of OCD nature. It's very routine and rigid and very much a ritual, and I like that. Yeah. Whereas I wonder about certain other types of dance, like when I've talked to Kristen a little bit about her tappy feet, which I'm going to check out one day, I don't think there's as much structure to it. They don't, it seems a little bit more of a free form, and I like the structure.
Yes. They call us bunheads. Yes. Those of us who just like the rigid structure of the whole thing.
Yeah. So that definitely appeals to me. I like that.
I agree. I agree on the structure for sure. It's nice. It makes the mind focus.
Yes.
Which is good. It can get carried away up there sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's nice because you can just you have to really focus on what you're doing, and there's a nice progression. I mean, what's nice about ballet is it starts with foundational and you're building on that. And I like that. You're not coming in at the middle and trying to learn what you didn't know. We're starting from the basics and building on that. And I like that.
Yeah, it's very nice. So Kristen, the other day, randomly, unrelated to this conversation at all, randomly, Kristen messages me because, we teachers, we message each other, we talk. Yeah. And she's like, something changed with Mona. I was looking at Mona the other day and she was just like a ballerina. Something changed with Mona. She was just going on. This was about 3-4 weeks ago, maybe, before this whole home thing happened. And she said you were just like balancing up there with like a long neck and a long posture. So what happened? Did you know that this happened, first of all? And second of all, how'd you do it? What's your secret?
I think some of it is just that I keep practicing it, at class, but I think about it a lot during the day. And that's one of your home videos. You talked about, doing ballet all the time in your mind or something like that. And so when I'm walking into work, I hold my shoulders back and I pay attention to where my hands are. And, I do a lot of kitchen ballet. And I do that a lot. I balance in the kitchen and I do a lot of kitchen ballet. And so I think about it a lot. And I think that has helped a little bit. I'm also doing on my own, and I did attend one of your kind of morning kind of warm-up thing, but I've been doing this morning warm-up routine for about 20 minutes. It's kind of stretching, a tiny bit of cardio, but I think maybe that's helped a little bit. It's given me a lot more arm and upper body strength.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that's amazing. I do always say that technique is learned in the shower. Technique is not learned in class necessarily. Like, we talk about it and we tell you what your goals are, but like, you need to figure out in your own mind how that works on your body. Like, you need to change your mental image of yourself and your understanding of how your body connects. And I feel like that's the kind of thing that simmers under the surface and you're like, oh, the pelvis, got it. Cool. Like, that's the kind of thing, how it works up there in the mind.
Yeah. But, I do think, trying to do it, yes, in the mind, in the kitchen ballet, and always being aware of kind of body and space and where my shoulders are. And, I really, when I'm walking around work now, I'm like lifting my head and looking up as opposed to looking down. And those little things I try to, bring to the ballet class now.
That's awesome. Body awareness is actually a really hard thing to teach to people who started movement as adults, myself included. I still consider myself a very clumsy person. Being able to connect the mind to the body is actually quite a challenge, and it sounds like that's something you're really working on.
Yeah. So I wouldn't call myself a ballerina, but Kristen had told me, oh, you think you just, and she's so complimentary. And I'm like, I don't think it's amazing. I think I've made a little progress.
Well, as teachers, we get excited when we see a directional change, right?
Yeah.
Like you're going on a path and then we see the path change. It's the one step on the new direction, but we're like, yes, I can see it clicking. It is happening. So that's, I think, why we get so excited.
Yeah.
We can see a shift. So what is the biggest challenge? So obviously, there's many challenges with ballet, but for you, what do you feel like what's the biggest piece that you're kind of chewing on right now, trying to figure out?
I mean, the turnout, but especially the turnout in center work, to like when we do a tombe, pas de bourrée, and coming back to that turnout as opposed to just being clunky and, not coming back to the turnout. I think center is where I feel, and I think anybody would say that, where I don't feel as comfortable, and, it's the balance and, feeling a little bit better in the center work.
Yeah, that's such a hard transition. It's very funny. In the beginning of my own ballet training, which was also as an adult in my early 20s, I just wondered, if bar and center were at all related. I was like, this literally, I know teachers tell you how it's related, and now I'm like, I'm telling you it's related, but like as a student early on, I'm like, what were we just doing for the past hour? Like none of that is relevant to what we're doing now.
Right.
Do you feel that same way?
A little bit. I mean, I'm now, getting it, when you watch some ballets and when we're doing developés at the bar or we're now doing it in center. And so I can get some of that connection a little bit. But I do think it took some time.
It's tricky because the footwork is nothing you have to deal with at the bar. You don't have to remember which foot you're standing on because generally you have a thing that's in relation to your body. And then when you're in the center, it's like, well, I don't know, am I on my right foot or my left foot? I have no idea. Yeah. How would I know?
No, I agree.
So center is always challenging. Do you practice anything in center at home, or is it difficult to even remember what to practice?
Not as much, because I need a better floor to do the center. I have a ballet bar, and I have kind of a foamy floor under my bar, but then the rest of our basement is concrete, and so it's not, and the foamy thing is too slick to do center. So I toyed with getting one of those kind of, what do they call it? The mats, it's with an M.
The Marley floor?
Marley floor. And so I talked to my husband, would he be willing to let me buy, and you can buy kind of not a full floor, but I've looked online about that. And I might do that because that would allow me to do some center. I have the space, I just need a better floor. Because I find
that's hard.
Yeah, the concrete the ballet slippers don't move well, and then socks, I slide too much. So I think I need that ballet floor.
Yeah, the concrete floor. Yeah, practicing at home is hard with the center work. The bar work is pretty easy to do anywhere you are. Yeah. It's pretty easy, but the center work is really tricky.
Yeah. So I probably need to get one of those floors, and that'll make the center work a little bit easier.
Yeah. So you take class pretty much once a week, right?
Yeah.
Every once in a while, maybe a second class, but not too often.
Right. Yeah.
But you practice at home a lot, so I'm sure that makes a big difference for you.
Yeah, I try. I mean, sometimes better than others. Now I'm trying to do more because it will be online. I'd like to do twice a week class, and I was toying with that before this whole COVID thing. And now,
Right.
now it's great. I can do 2 and 3 times a week class. Some of it I think has just been so many of the classes that work for me time wise fill up, and then finding the class where it's like, oh, I want to use a makeup, oh, they're already full. And so
Right. Getting in.
just it's my schedule and the timing of what the class is, and also what instructors I like to be with. So
Right. That always makes a big difference too. Finding the right people who click with your
right.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your goals? Is point work on your radar? Is that totally out of the question? Are you interested in just like having a tutu one day? What's your end game here?
I wouldn't mind considering the point work. Don't feel anywhere close to that yet, but I think it's such a out there goal that I possibly maybe another year or so participate in the showcase, which I was bummed I couldn't do this year. There was a conflict with my daughter had a recital the same day, and so because I really wanted to try that.
Well,
So
maybe when we
do the
reschedule it.
Yes,
Maybe when we reschedule it'll work for you.
Able to do it. And just get better and feel like I'm making some progress.
Yeah, so you kind of sounds like you really like the journey of the whole process and not so much in it for the end result.
No, I mean, I like the journey, and if I make it to 3C, whatever that means, in another 4 years, that's fine. I mean, I'm not, I don't feel like I'm in a rush, because it's, I don't feel like I've mastered what I'm currently doing at 2C. So
right. And that's such a thing with ballet too, is you're never done. No matter where you're at, you're never done. The new steps you learn, you're never done with the previous ones. Like, you're never done with your tendu. I still watch videos of people and I'm like, that's a tendu. I want that tendu. Right. But I've been doing tendu for 13 years. Right. So it's like, I still want a better tendu, but then I also want, 3 pirouettes, 4 pirouettes, those kinds of things. But I still am not done with, like, how do I make my plie look as good as that? What's different about that person's plie? How do I get that? You're just never done, which is actually the super cool part about the whole thing.
Yeah. Or like learning how to do a pirouette. That might be a good, goal.
Yes.
And I'm so far from that. The turns are I'm terrible at the turns. So they're hard. I got the PK turn kind of. So I was proud of that. The other ones can't figure out yet.
I think one of the most maddening parts about pirouettes, because we talked already a little bit about the OCD nature of dancers, and specifically ballet dancers, and how we like to just be super detailed and rigid and, controlled. And like the whole thing is you get to learn how to, manipulate your body in different ways. And then pirouette, you have to let go. And it's like, but you've been telling me for years to hold on tight, and now you're telling me to let go? What the heck are you doing? Because once you're tight, it doesn't work. The thing doesn't work.
Yeah. No, it's hard.
So you have to learn how to let go within the structure that we've given you.
Yeah.
How do you let go of some things but not all of it? That's the fine-grained control we learn when we come to pirouettes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I agree, because I'm very, when somebody's doing a step at the bar or center, I'm very I want to follow it exactly correctly. And that sometimes I don't think is helping me, because I'm so hung up on every little detail of it. And I think sometimes being a little bit more looser might be helpful.
Right. It's such a dichotomy, though, because you can't be that loose. You still have to hold your turnout, and you still have to point your toes, and you still have to hold your port de bras, but you have to be loose enough to move. So it's that balance, that teaching that balance is teaching your body hard. That balance is hard.
Yeah, it is.
You want to move gracefully, but then you also need it to be technically accurate at the same time.
Yeah. No, it's hard. And, you know, for people who are hung up on perfection, that makes it hard.
Yes, right, which is in part why we do this. So
Yeah.
do you show off the moves that you learned? Does your family get to see the moves that you're learning, or is it a very private thing for you?
It's more private. I've shown them once or twice and they kind of looked at me strangely, so that was the end of it. But, you know, when I do my kitchen ballet, my daughter does see me dancing around the kitchen. So
Does she dance? Does your daughter dance?
no, not at all. She plays violin.
Oh, she plays
No,
violin. Okay.
no, she never was into the dance. She plays violin.
So you guys can have a little musical concert at home. You play
Not
the
yet, because
piano?
I'm
No.
so, yeah, I'm hoping in another year I'll be good enough on the piano to be able to play with her, but I'm not there yet. So
Well, maybe she can just do a violin piece that you can dance to.
that might be that could be possible actually.
That could be, and now you're all home for weeks on end with
Yeah.
nothing to do. So maybe you can choreograph a piece together.
Now that would be good for the showcase. That would be a good thing.
Yep, there you go. Yep, mother-daughter piece. That would be super fun.
That would be actually.
I've been trying to get my mom to come out. She plays the flute, and I've been trying to get her to come out for
Oh,
a show one day. I'm like, Mom, you got to
oh,
accompany.
that'd be great. Oh, that
It'd
would
be
be
so fun.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be so fun to have just adults accompanying adults. Like, how fun would that
Yeah.
be?
Well, I thought that was the whole idea of the, you know, Kristen teaching the piano is
Yep,
that, you know, people could do that. I thought that was a great idea.
it will be. Yeah, it will be fun. All this, get it, just whole conservatory.
Yes, I like it. I like it.
Um, so Mona, last question for you. We have a lot of dancers who are surely listening or reading this interview who are maybe in a similar boat as you and want to get started, but they're like super nervous about it. Do you have anything you would tell them about being nervous about it, and how you, if you had that or if you didn't, how they might overcome that?
You know, I think because so, you know, choosing an adult ballet studio that's only adults and is so welcoming and encouraging, I think people shouldn't be nervous. And there's so many different sizes and looks of the women who are in the studio and ages, and I think everybody is very supportive. So I I don't think people should be nervous about trying it, because I mean, I think I was maybe a little bit, you know, especially when I've been in some of the classes where people seem to know a little bit more than I did, but everybody's very supportive. And, you know, sometimes people will be like, oh, I can't do that at all. And like, oh my gosh, that looked great. You did a wonderful job. And so I think it's a very supportive atmosphere. And the fact that, you know, women are really every shape and size and level of experience and age, and I think that's fabulous, you know. And I think it really, I mean, that's what makes, I think, the studio so special, as opposed to going to a place that is a mixture of adults and kids. And, you know, I think Broche really has a great niche that way.
Yeah, it's really fun to be a part of a community of people who are sort of in the same boat and have a very
Yeah.
similar, very intense and very fine-grained interest. So we end up getting very similar people in the studio, right, who have similar mindsets and not even necessarily views on the world, but just like interests, right? You like this kind of detailed,
Right.
focused work. And so, you know, you get very detailed, passionate people in the studio who, you know, are just all in this boat together. And we get it that ballet is hard. So
Yeah.
there's no need to make it harder with any other social pressure.
You know,
Already hard
and I
enough.
think you've really found a nice group of instructors who are very encouraging. And, you know, it's not like they're, you know, the ballet teacher who, you know, some talk about what their, you know, ballet teachers were like, and, you know, how mean they were. And everybody is so supportive and helpful. And, you know, and I think that makes it nice. I mean, I like all the instructors because they're very, you know, they're good at teaching adults.
Yeah, it's a whole different world here as adult dancers.
Oh yeah. Uh, no, I think you've really built something really nice. I mean, I just in the past year, how much the studio has grown and how many more classes and how many more instructors. And I mean, I know you had it even before I started over a year ago, but it really seems to have taken off the past year.
Yeah, it really has. It's one of those things where you don't know what you're making until it's made, right? You don't know what it's going to become and who's going to be in the studio until you can kind of look back at it and see like, oh wow, okay, cool. This is, this is something people are interested in. And clearly a lot of people are interested in it. And that's awesome because I was too. And I'm glad there's more people like me out there who want to learn and like just get really good at it and get really into it.
Yeah. And I mean, your website is great. Your offerings are great. I was so bummed that you started the Overture program after I had already started, but all of
I
those,
know.
I think what you've done just in the past year has really been, great.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a really fun ride.
Yeah. So now it can just get even bigger and bigger.
That's right. Now we just got to open up again.
Yes. Though, are you getting a lot of, I mean, I was on an online class, I think 2 days ago, and there were, I think 9 people there. So are you getting a lot of interest for the online right now?
Yeah, it's definitely picking up. I think for the most part, it's going to start picking up a little bit more now. I think everyone just had a really tough couple of weeks.
Sure.
I mean, life just got crazy. 2
Yeah.
weeks ago, everyone had the rug pulled out from under them, right? So I think,
Right.
We're just sort of in the last couple of days starting to see a little bit more interest. I think people just have been able to just make it through their day and not even able to think about too much more than that. So I'm glad to see people sort of coming back around and, kind of coming back out of a funk and coming back to their routines and realizing that, hey, if I'm gonna be home for another 6 weeks, I better get my bum moving because we're gonna be in a lot of pain if we sit on the couch for 6 weeks straight.
Exactly. And that's why I'm like, oh, look at all these new offerings this week and I can make it to more classes. And so I appreciate that because it really, when you were asking for feedback on that survey, I'd said certain times just aren't good. And now there's a lot more availability. So
yeah, and we're trying to figure out what do people's lives look like? Are people who's working, who's not working, what times are people working? There's no commute to deal with, so we can have even the people who are working, they can start earlier. I mean, and everyone's wearing their jammies for the entire day, so you don't have to change for class because you're already in your jammies. So it's like it's a much different process.
Exactly.
But it's very fun. Well, Simona, do you have any last things you want to add about your ballet journey?
No, I mean it's been great, and as I said, I'll give another shout out. Kristen has just been wonderful. I mean, she's the perfect fit for me as a teacher, and so I've really enjoyed that, and I've enjoyed all the other teachers, and I think I've now been in classes with most everybody, but Kristen really is a good fit for me.
Yeah, she's awesome. We're so glad she's on the team. She was one of the very first people I ever reached out to. Just because she owned a tap company, and I reached out to her pretty much right when we had opened because I was trying to get some rental traffic in there to just start getting the word spread out. So doing some rentals. And so I reached out to Tappy Feet and said, hey guys, do you want to rent our studio? And then she came and started renting, and then she came and started taking class, and then I brought her on as a teacher. And so she's one of the very first people I had contact with in the studio.
I like that.
In the life of the whole studio. So it's awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks a lot.
What's your puzzle?
That is a puzzle of New York City with some taxis that's like from the 20s, like jazz age. Yeah.
Oh, fun.
I know. I love New York City. Yes. Unfortunately, that puzzle has been sitting there for like a month and a half done. I haven't been making much progress on it, but maybe now's the time, now that everyone has some momentum on a new path, that I can get back to the puzzle soon.
I like that.
For now, though, I got to keep this body in shape because going from 30 hours in the studio to like 5 is just crazy.
Well, I'm sure I'll be attending probably one of your weekend classes. So I'm
awesome.
trying to get in 2-3 days a week now. So
great. Good. I'm glad. Well, it was so much fun to chat with you today, Mona. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks for listening today, dancers. For more adult ballet, you can follow our studio on Instagram and Facebook at Broche Ballet. You can follow me on Instagram at Julie the Ballerina, or check out our blog and YouTube channels for even more content. You can also dance with us in our online studio. To have your story featured on our podcast, email us at hello@brocheballet.com. Today's show was produced by Jackie Dohleman. I'm Julie Gill, and this was Broche Banter. Happy dancing!